I have Stephanie Height from episode 270 of the podcast. Steph, if you could be invisible for a day, what is one of the biggest things you'd want to do?
If I had a whole 24 hours, I would totally just creep on everybody that wouldn't think I would be there, like my kids.
Yeah.
And just, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, if I could be a fly on the wall type thing.
Aren't you afraid you'd find out something you don't want to know?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it would be fun.
Okay.
You know, whether it be my friends or my kids, just kind of like, you know, what are they doing? Are
Right.
they talking about me? Then you'd be able to know.
The concern.
Yeah. You know, like
that's the kind of things I don't want to know, though. Somebody's talking about me, like, that's their business.
well, no, not really, because then you need to know. Then you know who you need to keep at arm's length. You're like, all right,
That's
I
a
know
good
how
point.
they really feel.
And now I can get retribution
That's
on
right.
them.
Exactly.
I think if I was invisible for a day, it'd be really fun, number one, to stand in traffic. Wouldn't that be? In cars like drive
Just
through
go through you.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of fun. And what else would I do if I was invisible for a day? Walking through walls would be pretty fun. I'm assuming if I'm invisible, I could walk through things.
Right,
I'm not just like running into stuff, but invisible. But yeah, I would very much enjoy spying on people, definitely, and just seeing their perspective.
Well, it's funny because, like, you know, like when you're younger, you have dreams.
Yeah.
One of them for me, obviously, is like if you're invisible, and also if I could fly.
Yeah. Oh man, flying would be the
You
best.
know, just like fly everywhere and see things would be really cool.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
I always think that if I was invisible, I wonder if I could walk into somebody else's body and then like look out of through their eyes.
Yeah.
This is getting really weird. All right. Thanks, Steph.
Sure.
From episode
Thank
270. Did I say 270?
Yeah, 270.
Of the podcast. All right. Well, welcome to the show. You know, and if I could fly, I wouldn't poop on people. I find it rude that birds assume that they're just allowed to poop wherever they want. Shouldn't there be designated bird pooping zones? Wouldn't that have been brought up sometime throughout evolution? Like, hey, guys, we can't just take a crap on anything that we want to take a crap on. But, well, I guess we're here. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's just if I ever have the chance to fly, I promise I will have designated pooping areas. That sounded so stupid as it was coming out of my mouth. Alex Hazard on the show today. Hazardous Conversations with Alex. I love Alex. I've only known him for a couple of weeks. He is the host of Central PA Live. It's a local live variety news talk show kind of thing on a local news network here in Altoona, Pennsylvania. But he's fun to talk to. He's tons of energy. He's got tons of personality. He should really have his own YouTube channel. Alex, I know you're listening to this. At least I would hope that you would. Start that YouTube channel because we had an awesome conversation covering why you should get into broadcasting, covering how we both got into broadcasting, how it can benefit your life, and also the kind of attitude that you have to get into it, because a lot of people are drawn towards that profession, maybe for the fame or maybe for the money or whatever it might be, but really being able to connect with people and help people and being able to learn about yourself while in the profession is huge. Why am I talking about all this right now? We'll talk about it during the podcast. But I can talk about the sponsors of this podcast. Now, Stephanie Height, who was just talking a few moments ago, Trade Secrets is a sponsor. That is her business, and I make it my business to talk about her business here on the show. So 1223 13th Avenue in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Secrets and Trade on Facebook. Trade Secrets _skincare on Instagram. So she's awesome, and her husband's awesome because they make all of their products in-house, natural body care products, all in-house research and development, soy wax candles, wax melts, lip balms, body lotions, body butters, all that good stuff at Trade Secrets. And also a shout out to Juice, Joos, Juice, 517 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg. Facebook and Instagram, The Juice Bar, Joos. Cold pressed juice and smoothies, smoothie bowls and bone broth, things to make your body better, to make you healthier, to make you stronger, to make you a better human being. Because if your body's good, your mind's good, everything internally is running good, then the outward, external kind of stuff is going to be just as solid. That's why I love awesome sponsors who can benefit your life on this show. That's what we're all about. Now, let's get in to the program, zebras.
This is Rob Z Radio.
Well, hello. Coming to you live.
Intro over.
The intro. Before this whole thing, I'm like, you got to be quiet for 20 seconds, Alex, while I play the intro. It's like 20 seconds. 20 seconds?
20 seconds is a long time to just sit in silence.
How awkward was it? Did you feel awkward?
I felt incredibly awkward. Because not only are we sitting in silence looking at each other, we're on Facebook Live, and I in broadcasting, you're taught no silence is good. So like whenever I hear silence, I just want to fill it.
You're panicking.
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah. So this is during our Central PA Live intro, which is also entirely too long.
Okay. 15 minutes of an intro.
Yeah.
And
So Amanda and I always dance to it before, like, just do. We get a little pumped up, but it's not on screen or anything. But I feel like I need to be doing something. But your intro isn't danceable.
Well, if you want to like rock out a little bit, I think you really could bob your head to it. If
Well,
you wanted to.
you have started out. Can we play it again and talk through it? Maybe you have the alarm clock first.
Right. Well, that's kind of, you can't really dance through an alarm
You
clock.
can't really. I mean,
Maybe like
I hear an
spastic.
alarm clock and I just want to slap it.
You freak out.
Hit your computer. Yeah.
What is your alarm on your phone? Is it like?
It's the most obnoxious.
Why?
Because it's the only thing that will wake me up. I'm a good sleeper.
Oh.
You know how you always hear about
Like
people
a coma
that,
sleeper.
Yeah, you hear that people that like can't sleep at night and take Ambien or whatever.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
The exact opposite.
Like I'm the exact opposite. Like my head hits the pillow, I'm out.
Like you need slapped in the face to be woken up. Is
Right.
that kind of the
right.
sleeper you
Yeah.
are?
Yeah.
I used to have that alarm clock. It was like the. And I think I had anxiety. I think it was giving me like PTSD because whenever it would go off, I'd wake up in like a gasp.
You do wake up in a panic, and it's
terrible.
not good.
It's a terrible way to start your day.
It really is a terrible. So
Do you have an iPhone?
I do have an iPhone. It's smashed right now.
My recommendation is if you use the bedtime, like if you go into your alarm clock, into your clock settings, there's the bedtime thing there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That has the most calming wake up. So it starts at like you can't even hear it level and then slowly rises. And it's a very soft music. So it doesn't jar you out of bed and shoot you to the end of the ceiling.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to be a real man here. I want to be able to. I want to prove my masculinity through being able to take that alarm clock.
I only wake up to jarring sounds, like the sounds of gunshots or something. That's my alarm clock.
Yeah.
So I guess we could like introduce you. So
Okay.
people knew who you were.
Yeah.
Alex Hazard. So you've come to. If you're listening to the podcast and you're not from Central Pennsylvania, then you might not even care. But after this podcast, you will care.
Well, maybe.
You came to Altoona, PA. You're the host of Central PA Live, which is our local live content show. What would you call the show?
It's a lifestyle show. It's a local lifestyle show.
Not variety or anything like that?
Or variety. I mean, you can call it whatever.
If you would put that dancing in at the beginning, I think it would become a variety show.
And you know what? We're trying. Right now, we're in what we call spaghetti mode. We're kind of throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks.
That's what I do
trying
every
some new
day.
things. Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of done the talk show thing, and obviously we're in a news station, so we want to combine everything, and so we're trying different stuff. But yeah, probably a lifestyle show.
Because it seems like what you've been doing on Central PA Live, like you have a lot of energy. You're bringing a lot to the table.
Well, I'm just, there's not a lot to not be happy about.
True. Yeah.
And so I think like let's laugh and let's be real and.
No, I think that's an awesome way to view life because I've throughout my life had a very difficult time keeping that mindset. Now, when I'm like at work, like when I'm doing this sort of thing, easy for me to be happy. It's like it just comes naturally. But then after work, I'm like, life's miserable.
Right.
I'm not so much anymore like that, but that was a good portion of my life. So how did you have that mindset? Or you just kind of built with that mindset?
Well, I don't know when the realization came, but I kind of the same thing. I was finding myself getting pissed off about things that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I care about this?
Right.
And I think I don't want to say not caring because I think obviously I would consider myself a caring person, but I think we stress the small stuff too much.
Yeah.
Like chicken soup for the soul.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done,
but
for sure.
In general, if you
and most of the time on Central PA Live, I mean, we're having it's a lifestyle show. So I mean, the things that you can get upset about are so stupid. Right. Why would I ever, okay, so a cooking segment didn't work or whatever. At the end of the day, we're not saving lives. We're trying to make people smile. I think it's better to laugh about it.
It is. I agree. And I say it is, but last night I'm sitting here with my friend. We were recording a podcast, and we had to bring up something on my laptop, and the video would not play. And I'm like, this is like 35 minutes of trying to get this video to play. I couldn't get it to play on my laptop, couldn't get it to play on my desktop, couldn't get it to play on my phone. So I was physically mad, and it pretty much ruined. It didn't ruin the podcast, but it definitely brought it down a few notches. Because my anxiety level was like up here.
Sure.
So I couldn't like get back into the mode of just having fun. Which is a bummer.
Yeah, that stuff. When I first moved here, I mean, I'm about 4 months in now, but I moved here from a market that I really, really loved. I was in the Thousand Islands region of New York State. It's gorgeous. The people are incredible. Is
that where you're from?
No, I'm from the PA border, or here I guess we'd call it the New York border.
Okay.
Of the southern tier of New York. But so I loved it there, and so when this opportunity came, I knew it was the right opportunity. I had talked to Don Pellis, who was the former host of the show. I just knew that it was the right thing to do, but it wasn't an easy thing to do to leave all these people. And so anyway, my first month here, I remember there was one night, and I really like missed my friends,
Yeah.
And so there was one night, same sort of thing. I'm going through my phone, and I live on a hill here, and so the service was terrible. I didn't have any friends, so all I wanted to do was watch Snapchat videos, and none of them would load. And I just talked about my masculinity, but I burst into tears, and I literally said out loud, "Why won't my video just load?" And then I heard myself say that and thought, get over yourself. Who are you?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's real problems in the world. And you're complaining because your Snapchat video won't load.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was probably the most recent realization of that. Like, let's just be happy. Let's just laugh. And then I went literally from so upset that my Snapchat video wouldn't load to just sitting in this house bursting out into laughter at myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like a crazy person. I have multiple personalities. And
how ridiculous you were being. Is that the point when you turn on the alarm clock? You know what? I need a shot of masculinity. Whoa, I'm a man again.
Yeah.
I don't need Snapchat. I'll be honest, I'm almost done with Snapchat. I think I'm dropping it. Because there's so many social media platforms, right? And I had Hannah Baker in here a couple of weeks ago, not from 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
dead.
No, I was doing a little research before I got here.
But Hannah was in, and she was talking. She's, 20 years old. She really is like fully engulfed in social media.
Yeah.
And she was saying about how she's done with Snapchat. Like she's like all of her friends are not using it as much, and it's strictly the Instagram.
Do you remember?
Stories.
Well, they did the switch when they switched their format.
Oh yeah.
People were so upset. Kylie Jenner tweeted out. It was, and I don't like the new format either. But I don't know.
It's just whatever.
It's become that. Like when you're doing something and you're like, oh, I should snap this. And so, it's all,
It's a term, right? It's like an actual
it's snappable,
term. Yeah. It's not like grammable. Nobody talks about the Instagram story like that.
And Instagram is so hip. Like I am opposite of Instagram. I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to get better at it. 'Cause, just in our jobs, we're supposed to be doing all social medias all the time.
Yeah.
I suck at Instagram.
Why?
I don't know.
Like the stories or the
whole thing. I think it was just a little bit after my time. Like when it was, like I was probably a senior in college or after graduated when Instagram came out. And so it just was kind of,
But you understand Snapchat better than Instagram? Because I feel like Snapchat was more of a barrier to figure out and understand.
No, I like Snapchat, and here's the other thing. It was in college when Snapchat came out for me, and that's right when we're starting to drink and starting to do all sorts of things we didn't want our parents to see. So it was perfect for that because you could snap it and it's gone in 24 hours.
Right.
Not sure. It's hard for people. I don't think it really is, but at that time you thought
it's out there somewhere.
Oh,
on a
sure,
server.
it's got to be.
It's definitely being saved.
We're all going to be blackmailed later in life.
So you went to, we were kind of kindred spirits. You were in radio before television.
Yeah.
Was that like when you were a kid? What did you want to do when you were a kid? Like when you were
I've always loved talk shows. So when I was a little kid, I can remember sneaking up or sneaking downstairs to watch the top 10 list on David Letterman.
Oh, okay.
I loved you remember the old Rosie O'Donnell show? She was before she got angry.
I don't know.
It was before she was this like political
raging lunatic.
But she was, they used to call her the Queen of Nice, and I remember.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? And she was kind of like Ellen. I mean, she was as big as Ellen.
You think so?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, she quit because
what year was that? When did like the Rosie O'Donnell show?
The early 90s.
Okay.
But so she she said that when I make $100 million, I'm going to quit my job. And she did.
Oh, wow.
And so when she hit the $100 million mark, that's what I'm on that plan too. It's just going to take me a lot longer to get there.
$100 million done.
Yeah. But she said, when I make $100 million, that's more money than any person should ever need, and I'm done. So she stopped. But anyway. So
that's an odd reason to quit a show, though. Don't you think? Like the show.
I don't think anybody else has ever done that.
Like, look at Ellen. Like the reason for the show is the impact. I think not the money she's making, but the impact the show can have.
Right. Well, she wanted to have kids.
You would think the Queen of Nice would be able to stick it out.
Well, I think we've come to find out that the Queen of Nice isn't so nice.
Right. It was not exactly the best title for it.
But yeah. So and then the other person I looked up to was Regis Philbin. And they were kind of my three. I loved Regis's energy.
Okay.
I loved David Letterman's sense of humor. What I liked about Letterman was like he's funny later, especially when you're a kid. The jokes took a little bit for me to understand, but I really liked that. I mean, most people like wittiness, right? And I think it was kind of neat that his jokes, he would say a joke, and then it would like take me a couple of seconds. Oh, that's really funny. That was actually smart writing.
Yeah.
So I really
very dry.
Yeah, I liked it. Well, it kind of reminds me of like your dad, you know? Like dads say that.
How do you know my dad?
Well, like my dads in general. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Letterman I always found, though, I mean, I watched him in the later years. Well, whatever. I watched him throughout my life, but it seemed like people were laughing at jokes just to laugh. It was like if anybody else would have said it, nobody would have laughed. But when Letterman said it, they laughed. And I'll be honest, it irritated me. I was like, who are you? Like, that wasn't even a joke.
Right.
He like bounces pencil and people would laugh. I'm like, I don't know what the humor is. But I was cynical about it. I was a Conan O'Brien fan. So
see, like Conan was too much for me. I thought he was always trying too hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay,
like,
yeah. I think he was trying.
Yeah, he tries.
He was so over the top.
Yeah, I liked his hair, though.
Obvious. Elvis and Conan O'Brien brought together? What's the combo?
Yeah.
But Conan, like, he would just do stupid things, and you could tell that he was just throwing stuff at the wall. That's what I liked. Is like and Jimmy Fallon when he was on Late Night, The Tonight Show. He's still funny now, but if you watched when he was on Late Night, he was hysterical.
Well, and the thing is with The Tonight Show now, I think, is the interview is lost. They split the interview. I mean, they maybe have 30 seconds to a minute of an interview, and the rest of it's game. Now, it's really funny, but I enjoy an interview. I think in this world of, we're 24/7 breaking news and all this stuff, it's important to like slow down and have a conversation. And Letterman was the king of that. I mean, he could have real, and he was so smart that would have idiots on the show like Paris Hilton or Justin Bieber or whatever.
How dare you?
He would just tear. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me some Biebs, but he would just tear them apart, and it wasn't,
and not like directly,
and not directly. They didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah, just by the way he would act towards them, like he was totally clueless. Right. At how clueless they were. Right. Maybe that was like what it.
I don't know. I kind of always knew. I guess I didn't know I wanted to be a talk show host, but I knew I wanted to do what they did. I liked the difference that they made in, Letterman was probably the least of the three that did that. But Regis Philbin, I loved. He was so embedded in that New York City community, which is, after living there, it's funny to think that there is a New York City community. But the word community, like where are you from? A small town?
I'm from here.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small little town. Like community to me means a totally different thing than it did to Regis. But what I liked about him was, he would go to a Broadway show, and then he had the platform to talk about the Broadway show the next day. Yeah. And I really liked that with Rosie. I loved when she would give things away, and she would make a difference, and she would, give, just like Ellen does now with, oh, I heard about this family. Let's send them on vacation. I loved that.
Right.
And then Letterman, it was just like the perfect, it was kind of like the perfect way to end your day. And so I knew that I wanted to do that. I guess I didn't, at a young age, I didn't know that being a talk show host, as silly as it sounds, even though that's what they all were, I didn't know that that's how I had to do it. But I ended up there.
Well, if you watch Letterman's new Netflix special,
yeah, it's great.
Which I think is awesome, because when you're saying about the conversation part, like Jimmy Fallon, like it's almost to the point with podcasting now, which is why I do this and why I love it so much, is because when you watch like the talk shows, you'll get maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes. So you're not really getting the person at all.
No, and that's my most hated part. I mean, there's often times where I have 4 minutes to talk to somebody. I'm like, how am I supposed to do it?
How can you engage them in 4 minutes? I mean, you're going to talk to them, but you're not going to get the real person. You're not going to get any depth to it.
But the good I don't want to sound like I'm saying bad things about what I do, because I also, I mean, sometimes it's great to get the bullet points too. You know?
Well, no, that's the point, right? That is the point of any of those shows. Is like you're not there to have like to find out what this person's really all about. Who are they as a human?
Right.
But you're just getting like, what are they promoting, and get a little bit of their personality.
Right.
Which is the exact
cool.
point.
Yeah.
I love that Jimmy Fallon always brought games in because that was something that I guess like.
And I really like the games. Yeah.
But as far as getting to know people,
you know what I like about the games is it helps you get to know them quickly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
without going into their personal lives.
Without going into their personal lives and stuff, which makes people uncomfortable sometimes.
And you're doing that on Central PA Live. Like you and Micah, which Micah's been on the podcast
we do
from
games.
Refuge Youth Network. You guys did the freestyle in the back of the car.
Oh, yeah. And we do that every Wednesday. It's a riot. And I actually had a lady on Facebook last night. She called me a copycat. I'm like, 100% I'm a copycat. It was a great idea. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Duh.
It's like the baker that like ate a donut for the first time. He's like, oh, you know,
I better not make
more of these donuts. You know, I don't want to copy that other baker that made donuts. Like, no, now we have Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm thankful.
Yeah, exactly. And we
I don't know how I made that correlation.
And we have Krispy Kremes. Like they wouldn't all exist if one person had a donut.
Thank God.
But that's so true, man. I think people get hung up on, well, somebody's already doing it.
Yeah,
you can't do this.
I'm
well,
like,
if it works,
let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm not egotistical enough to think that only my ideas are good.
Right.
You know,
because your ideas aren't even really yours.
Right.
They're a combination of other stuff.
Exactly.
So, I would get in the mindset of that too when I was in radio. It was like, oh, I can't do that thing. I couldn't do prank phone calls. Somebody else has already done prank phone calls, and. Like, well, duh.
Right.
How many people have like made a career off of doing prank phone calls? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
and then people also think like the Late Late Show is the only person to do the backseat of the car. I mean, speaking of Letterman, he did that with Zaza Gabor years and years and years ago.
Well, it's not that great. It's not that.
It's
novel of a concept.
It's not that. Yeah, exactly. It's not this rocket science. We're not figuring out math. We're not. You know, this is. Well, how can we make people laugh? So for some reason, doing something in a car is funnier than doing it in a studio.
Yeah.
If
the car can be the sponsor and you can have that all tied in, then that just makes perfect sense.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And that's a good way of looking at it. I don't know what I like about what you're doing on Central PA Live. It seems like you're bringing your personality to it. And are you coming up with ideas? Are you just like throwing stuff? Well, you said you're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Well, that's what's kind of great. Is like sometimes I have an idea, and luckily the management there is so wonderful that they just say, "Try it." And if it doesn't work, we don't, like, for example, on, I forget what day, this week, or a couple weeks ago, we have our shoes are sponsored by Shoe Fly stores. And so we have a shoe cam that goes down and looks at our feet. And I was picking on Amanda's feet. And I said, Amanda, you really need a pedicure. Your feet look disgusting. And I looked at the camera. I said, if there's any salons watching that wants us to come and do our show at your salon, all you have to pay us is a pedicure for Amanda, and we'll do it. Well, so I was like kidding, and all of a sudden my inbox, my email was full of all these local salons wanting us to come get pedicures at their salons.
Yeah.
So we did it, and we got back, and I personally thought it was hysterical. There were other people that didn't think it worked, but the cool thing is that we had the opportunity to do it.
If you got the response, then it worked.
Well,
right?
I don't know. And what does work mean? You know what I mean? How do we know if something worked? I think every day the show should be different. Now, there's certain things that need to stay the same. You have to have the same intro. You have to have the same whatever. But I think every single day there should be a reason for somebody to tune in. If we have the same show every day, then there's no reason to watch.
Yeah. What you just did there, that's the best thing about any sort of live television. Not saying you're going to like rip the script up and just go off the rails.
No, you have to have some sort of road to follow.
But you threw some sort of random thing in that worked.
Right, sure.
Well, we met at Mammy's. So we met with Micah and the crew from Refuge.
We were going for breakfast on National Donut Day. Yeah,
with Refuge Youth Network, and we were at Mammy's. So a couple years ago, I was on the air. It was National Donut Day, and I was talking about how much I loved Mammy's. Mm-hmm. And somebody was there. I guess it was National Donut Day. I don't know maybe it wasn't even. I was just talking about donuts for some reason. And somebody brought me a box of Mammy's donuts to the door. I was like, now that to me says it's working. If you do something and somebody responds to that thing, like and you give like a call to action, which is basically all you did,
right.
Talking from a marketing standpoint, that was the call to action was, hey, we need somebody to do a pedicure on her feet.
Sure.
And it happened.
Right.
So it worked. People were watching, people were
cool.
listening, and they reached out. Like, I don't know. That's my favorite part of it.
But I guess that's my thing is that for me, I've never been diagnosed with ADD, but I know I have ADD because I don't have the patience to go find out if I have ADD. Do you know what I mean?
The speed at which you're talking definitely tells me you have ADD.
Yeah, so I Yeah, so I don't know. I always try to do something different, and I
people try to like curb ADD, but it can be a really helpful tool.
Well, and what we do, it's perfect, you know, and I just don't ever like to be bored, and I'm not bored with this show because we're having a lot of fun, and I get to meet all sorts of people and do all sorts of cool things I'd never. Like the other day, I was on a trapeze. I mean,
were you on a trapeze?
I was at the Du Bois Community Days. And there was everything wasn't set up yet, and we had to go live at 4, and there was a circus group there, and I went up and I introduced myself, and I said, I think it'd be really funny to start the show up on the trapeze. And thinking the guy was going to tell me no, he said, sure. And I got up there. So
do you guys record those segments when you're away? Or
no,
everything's live?
Everything's live.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we record segments like the backseat driver and that stuff. That's recorded because it's got to be, and we film like 6 of them at a time. So just for timing reasons. But so I'm on this trapeze and I get up. I mean, I can see all of Du Bois, which, by the way, beautiful. And
Metropolis.
Yeah. No, it was everybody. It was great there. So anyway, I'm up on this trapeze and I'm in this hula hoop.
Have you been on one before?
No. I'm terrified of heights. I'm like crapping my pants. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm holding on to this hula hoop and I'm like, oh my God. This little handle is the only thing holding me up here. This isn't like a roller coaster at an amusement park where the hydraulics and everything, they have all this science,
Yeah,
this
you're not
literally
strapped in.
I'm sitting in a hula hoop tied to a rope, It was like, this was really a dumb idea.
Live on
television. I'm like, my mom's going to have to watch my death video over and over and over again. That's going to go viral.
Hey,
online.
Viral content. I mean, that's what they're looking for. So I don't know, whatever happened, but.
Ended up being fine, but.
You're still here, so I guess it went okay.
Yeah, it was okay. But those are the things. I mean, I love that I can be on the spot and say, let's just try this. And then we do. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't,
I think that's awesome, man. That's
fun.
That's what it's all about.
It's really fun.
That's what live TV and that sort of thing. I think you're in a cool spot because there's not many spots, especially like on a local level, like in the area that we're in, where you get to have a lot of creative freedom on television.
Well, that was the biggest.
Right?
That was the biggest. So at the same time I was looking at this job in Pennsylvania, I was looking at a job in Detroit. Now Detroit, much bigger market. Couldn't. I mean, God only knows what it could have provided. I don't know. I don't really care because for me, it's all. I think as broadcasters, we have this unique opportunity to be agents of change in our communities and make a real difference. And I think that stems from creativity. And while the show there is really good, and the producer used to be a producer on Oprah and all these things, it would have been a good opportunity, but it didn't feel right when I got there. It kind of felt like I would have had to do what I was told to do, and that's some jobs are like that, right?
Yeah.
In this job, I came here and I talked to management and I said, something I really like is I like to be able to have an idea and pursue it, and they were really good about that. I mean, the same day as my interview was when the ye old college deli or college diner was closing in State College.
Oh, okay.
The sticky bun thing, and they were saying, okay, so say that were to close and you were to have the guests on the show, what would you do? And I was like, I don't know. I probably would take the thing and say, how sticky are these? Let's stick them to the wall.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah, and
stick the buns to the wall.
Yeah, stick the buns on the wall.
You should have had like a stick the bun to the donkey's butt.
And obviously that was just the interview and stuff, but. And they laughed and they thought it was funny. So, I mean, that's cool.
And you on the spot just thought of that, and they were like, let's roll with it. Let's just do it.
Yeah. And again, of course, that was just like a scenario that they were giving me in the interview. But I could tell at that moment that I was like, okay, this place is cool. They're going to let me try new stuff. We're going to be able to do some different things. And so, yeah.
That's how I felt over time. Is like I'm only going to be happy if I'm able to do whatever I want. And that might sound selfish.
It sounds like people in broadcasting are probably the only people in the world that could say that and not sound completely crazy.
Yeah, because you need to be able to. I'm not good at following a script. I'm not good at like memorizing lines. I'm pretty terrible at it. I'll foul the whole thing up.
Yep.
Or sound like a robot.
And here's the worst thing: is I'm not even good at reading a teleprompter. If you watch the show, I mess up the teleprompter all the time.
We're here live on Central PA Live. My name is Alex Hazard.
No, so the other day I'm reading the teleprompter and it said a PhD, like somebody was getting a PhD. But they had the dashes in between the letters, so I was saying it, a PhD, like I was adding the A. Into PhD.
Like that was the whole
like
acronym.
It was part. Like
PhD was.
And Charlotte Ames was filling in next to me, and she was like, "That's PhD." I think they mean PhD, Alex. And I'm like, it took me so long to get it. And the thing, people don't realize how hard it is to read. I mean, it's just so unnatural for me to read.
Yeah.
And the difference between the news set and our set is the news set, they control their own. They have like a pedal that controls the speed of the. I don't. They have somebody in the control room that does it. So, and it's often different people that are just whoever can.
So one person's faster or slower than the other.
Yeah, and so reading the teleprompter sucks.
It is tricky. I mean, I've had to do it a couple of times. Well, actually, I was on on the news a couple of times, and I don't know if I had a teleprompter or not. Maybe,
but you probably were following along with theirs.
I had to follow along with theirs and the bullet points.
You're right,
and I did not. That's an art form, really.
It's I'm getting better at it. Maybe
I feel like I turn into a robot, and I don't like that. Anytime I have to read something verbatim,
right.
I feel like I'm just talking like this, and when I listen back, I feel like I can tell it's not me, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and that's something I learned when I was in radio. Is like I could tell, and my wife would always point this out. She was very good at pointing this out, but it was like you could tell whenever I was just talking off the cuff, and you could tell whenever I was like promoting something or sponsoring something. So I tried to find a middle.
You have to find a happy medium because you have to get the facts and you have to get everything right.
Yeah, I'd always turn the radio whenever I had to do like factual stuff. I'd turn the radio voice on. My voice would get like louder.
Right.
It would get, like,
it's a weird
almost.
thing, and I think we all kind of evolve, right? But so what I'm trying to do now is I do the intro and then I do the real conversation, and sometimes again it's kind of like everything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's kind of the way it's going.
But that's the fun thing about
doing
a show every single day, because
right.
you have a chance every day to create something new, to try something new, and if you screw it up, that's fine. Next day you can bounce back. It's not like one time. Right. I used to think like I wanted to be recorded so I could edit stuff out, but I love being live because you can't go back. It's like, well, editing is the worst thing for me in some instances because I love to edit, but I also am anal retentive about editing, so I'll go overboard with the editing and then drive myself insane. But if it's live, what are you gonna do?
Well, I like, it's a happy me. I like some of the pre-recorded stuff because you get to see shots that you wouldn't be able to see if it were live. So like for example, this backseat driver thing. If that were live, we would be in the backseat of the car. It would be a camera facing at us, and we wouldn't be able to see the car at all. We wouldn't be able to do cutaways and stuff. I think that adds. And I also am a sucker for a music bed. I think I love a good music bed. I love a good music bed.
Really?
Yeah, I
Why?
love. I think it moves it along. And,
adds energy to it.
Adds energy to it. Yeah, I think music's cool.
One of the things I found over the years, because I used to use music beds underneath everything, and when I stopped. And this is actually from JoJo and Froggy when he came in to work on. He was on Hot, and I was his boss for a while. He didn't use any music beds on his morning show, and I was like, "Oh, it's so ballsy! It's so scary to not have a music."
Sure,
that's like a nice cushion you can lay on. Like even if there's silence, you still have the.
Yeah. Well, remember earlier we were talking about filling silence. Maybe that's what I like about it is there's never silence.
There's never silence. Yeah, right. but I feel like you can't really get into. Like you can't have a conversation with a music bed behind it because it takes something away from
yeah, I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you have that silence and like using a pause for effect or something like that, like you can't really have that with a music bed. It doesn't have the same feel to it. So I was the same way. I used music beds for years, and when I stopped, scared to death at first.
Yeah.
Like every ounce of like millisecond of dead air, I was like, oh my God, I start sweating. Like, what am I going to say next? But then after a while, I was like, oh, this is so freeing because now I number one, don't need to worry about like, I guess in your position, you wouldn't be potting up or down the music bed. But in my position, I was like live, like having to control the sound.
Oh, yeah. No.
But it got rid of that element, and it just kind of let me be more relaxed. And I think that silence can be really powerful if you use it right. If you use silence right, it can be really effective.
I feel like that was an Oprah moment. Like you should repeat it a couple of times in like a really deep voice.
Sound. I forget what I said now.
Yeah, I do too. Oh. Silence can be really powerful if you use it right.
Put that on a quote on somebody's wall. I should get that on like a piece of wood and sell it at TJ Maxx. Yeah. Somebody would buy that.
Probably.
I could hang it up in my office.
Yeah.
Somebody print that out for me, please, if you can do that right now.
Yeah.
How did you what was your earliest memory of did you want to get into radio, or you saw talk shows but then got into radio first?
So I saw the talk shows. I always loved them. And then, so growing up, we always had exchange students living in our house. And we had one from Thailand, one from Japan, all over the place.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 stepsisters and 2 half brothers. So we're a Brady Bunch, big family.
I have 2. I have 3 half sisters and a half brother.
Yeah. So, it's fun. But so anyway, then I kind of decided, well, I wanted to be an exchange student. And so when I was 16, I moved to Brazil for a year and did the Rotary Exchange program. It was the best experience of my life.
What was that like?
It was really Brazil. It's euphoric. I mean, the people are incredible. The atmosphere. I mean, it's like, how can a whole country have good atmosphere? And it actually does. Really? It actually does. I mean, people are just like dancing in the street all the time. I mean, they're just really open. You'd meet a person one time, and it was like they were family.
What do you think it is? The weather or the what do you think?
I think weather does. I mean, you think about all those old folks down in Florida. I feel like they're kind of like that too. I mean, I don't know. And part of it probably was that I was 16 and just kind of had like goggles on,
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you on Brazil.
No, that's cool. And I don't want to get into this because it's serious. But I also, while I was there, had a really traumatic experience. I was in a car accident where somebody passed away.
Oh,
it was a really rough thing. But it was. I don't want to say cool, but it was good for me that it happened in a place where I had to be independent, and I
because you were by yourself, because
I was by myself. So it was a big maturing moment for me, and kind of helped me realize at 16 years old that life is short and you don't know when it. So let's live it to its fullest,
Yeah.
So I came back and got my grandfather. Played golf with a guy that owned a radio station, and I said, I think I'd like to. If there's an internship posted, I think I'd like to get involved there. And so my grandfather hooked it up for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
nice.
So at 17, I got this internship, and I thought I was going to be like getting coffee and stuff. But at these privately owned small town radio stations,
they actually need people.
They actually need you to do stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would cover stories. I got to meet Congress people. I got to be they would have I'd be walking in and they just would say like, I'll pull a chair up for a second. I would be able to be on the morning show, and then on weekends I was their weather person. So I would literally just go in and read the weather. Every so many hours or whatever. So. It was really cool, and so that was kind of where I was like, wow, even in these small towns, you can have a career in this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But then you get to college, and I went to a small private school outside of Syracuse, and it's definitely like a misconstrued idea that if you want to making it is going to New York City,
Yeah.
I mean, like I went there, the school I went to has a big fashion program, and it's like anytime a student got a job working in New York, it was this huge. Yeah,
it still is, right?
Yeah,
it's still LA or New York.
People, it's the greatest city in the world, and it is. I agree. I think it is the greatest city in the world. But it's. So anyway, after college, I moved. I did several internships throughout college. I did like 6 internships. I lived in D.C. I did New York, and one of them was with the Late Show, David Letterman, who obviously I looked up to for so long, and so. They actually hired me after college.
Really?
And 4 days after
the Late Show did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was a page in their audience department, and so our job was to warm up the audience, would dance with the CBS orchestra playing and high five people. It was the best job of my life.
No way. That's awesome.
It was
man.
really cool.
Did you meet Letterman?
Yeah. And, I mean, it was never like, oh, like nice to meet you. It was like
he's like, hello, Alex.
Yeah,
I like what you do.
There's 500 people at staff, so you would see him in the hallway and stuff. But then 4 days after I was hired, before I even started, he announced his retirement. So I was like, oh, God.
He's like, oh, I got to get out of here.
So I was like, oh, I made it. Like, I did it. And then I was like,
hey, man, but at least you made it right before he left.
Right, yeah.
Right?
And so I got to spend some of his last,
That's pretty cool.
It was really, and he had, a long time after he announced.
So you missed the miserable period. He was the leaving period. He's really happy. Like, I'm getting the hell out of here. So he's more happy than he was like a couple years before that.
Yeah. And so, and 2, I mean, I had interned there through college, so it was nice to be able to for your first job, it's cool to be comfortable with the people you're working with, because you see kids start right out of college and they're like, they have no, they feel like scared,
Yeah.
And so I was comfortable there. I was comfortable at the Ed Sullivan Theater, which is a weird thing to say out loud. But
when you were on radio when you were still in high school, when you were 17, did you have like a shift, or you were just like filling in and doing like random stuff?
Filling in whenever they could, and Yeah, and the thing is, when you're 17, you really are terrible. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I was really bad.
I have my old tapes. They are even.
I don't want them.
Even up to like 25, garbage, just complete
It's
crap.
and people that like think
For
like,
me personally,
I don't know if you get this a lot, but people are always say things to me like, "Oh, so you only host Central PA Live?" I'm like, "No, it's actually a lot." Like, I think that people kind of think.
What do you work an hour a day?
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. And I feel like people kind of think that it's easy.
Yeah.
That anybody can do it, and it definitely is a skill set that I grew in.
Yeah, no doubt.
I forgot what we're talking
I mean,
about.
anybody could walk onto a TV stage and stand there for an hour,
Sure,
and say words with their mouth and maybe read a teleprompter. But to actually like do it and have fun with it and be comfortable in it,
and
I mean, that's
there's the whole thing of like having a bad day and still doing it.
yes.
Which I can remember the first time I had to do that. It was in my last market. Everything I did there was pre-recorded, but I had already set up this thing. It was with a sponsor. I actually had it was a segment called In Bed with Alex Hazardous. Okay. And it was at a mattress store. And basically we'd have community people come in and we'd sit on a mattress and we'd talk about their community event coming up.
Not under the sheets or anything.
No. It was completely PG and it was funny.
Well, I mean, it could be funny without.
It was, and quite frankly, yeah, it would never work now in today's climate. But when it started, it was like 3 years ago. It was really funny. People thought it was hysterical. We had a big like stuffed animal, one of those like what are those sheep called? The Sealy.
Oh, yeah.
The Sealy sheep was like, we had a big stuffed animal, Sealy sheep, and people. I mean, it was hysterical. So anyway, the first time I had to be on television and be miserable but pretend that I wasn't was there. I had the stomach flu, and we were shooting 12 of them in one day, and so I had them timed out. I can't remember. So say it was 15 minutes, so I would have a 15-minute shoot, and then I'd have like 2 minutes
to go throw up,
to go throw up, and then I'd have the next person arriving, and I literally was throwing up in between shoots.
Serious?
And my cameraman at the time, Joe, he was our promotions director, but it was a small station, so he also worked as a cameraman. But anyway, he kind of like he just like was probably wondering what I was doing all day. And we got in the car and I was like, dude,
I've got to go drugs? Home. Like, why?
Yeah. I'm like, I've got to go home. And he's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I have the stomach flu. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, like the job is to smile and laugh and be able to still have fun even when you feel like crap. So
yeah, I found so many times that the thing that, whether I was in a bad mood or if I was sick or whatever it was, going in and doing a show like knocked me out of it. I forgot that I was in a bad mood.
It's the whole fake it till you make it thing.
It's amazing because I didn't even really, and this is something I'm trying to get closer to with what I'm doing here with this podcast and doing video. Like I want to do a daily show. I'm like all over the place because I have this social media marketing job and I'm trying to like balance the two. But like when I was in radio doing a 4-hour show every morning, I was waking up at like 4:30 or 4:45 in the morning.
4 hours isn't a super amount of time, really.
What's that?
I said 4 hours is that's a really long time.
It's a lot, yeah. I mean, I wasn't talking the whole time. Obviously, there was music, but there was still a lot to think about. And yeah, every morning I would wake up, and the first couple months I was miserable, and then once I got like used to doing it, I'd wake up excited. Even if it was a bad morning, I'd be like, oh man, I get to go do my show today.
That's the thing, right?
And you get to go in and have fun. Well, and you also get to enter. The thing that always got me was I got to think like people call in who are on their way. They drive 40 minutes to work, and they're up at 6 a.m. with me.
Yeah.
But they have to drive to work all this time, and they might not like their job, so I have a chance to make them happy. So I got to be happy,
right?
And it's
exactly.
Just
that's the that's the rewarding part of the job. And the cool thing about what you did is you got to start your day that way. And what I like about what I do is it's a 4 o'clock show, and so I get to restart my day. So if I'm having a bad day,
right,
4 o'clock I walk in that studio, my bad day's over.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it goes away, right? Because even after you're done, you're kind of like on a high. And
exactly. And then by the way, 4 o'clock is an hour show, so the show's done at 5. Now it's time for dinner and get around for it's great.
Yeah, your day's pretty much wrapped up at that point.
So it's a great way to end the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, dude. I think that I haven't seen. I don't have cable. So, sue me, right? I don't have cable anymore. I do have bunny ears. I have rabbit ears in my house, so I can pick up.
Yeah, pick it up with the bunny ears.
But I'm usually working at that point in time. But the stuff I've seen of you, I've seen of it online, has been awesome.
Well,
I think
thanks.
you bring like an awesome energy to it.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, it's fun, and I'm just having fun. And I say this, and management probably thinks I probably shouldn't say it, but I can't believe they pay me to do it. It's almost stupid that they pay somebody to do it. I have so much fun every single day, and I laugh, and I hope that some folks at home laugh along with me, and it's a great time.
Like you're almost guilty.
Yeah, I'm almost.
But isn't that the point of it? Like, if you can find a job where you're actually having fun and you do a good job,
right? Yeah.
And people want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the golden ticket. Like, that's what you want to do, really. So, yeah, man, I'd like to. I know you don't have a whole lot of time right now, but I'd like to have you come back on. And one of the things I've talked about Hannah Baker with this and other people who are like comfortable being on video, because one of the things I really try to. One of the messages I try to push out a lot is like, how can you get comfortable in front of a camera? How can you get comfortable in front of a microphone? And how can that not only, like, if you want to be whatever, if you want to be a network TV anchor, or you want to be a talk show host, or you want to be a YouTube star, or a podcast host, or a radio host, like, how can it, number one, help improve what you do as a career, but how can it, like, help improve your personal development? Sure. Because I feel like what we're saying right here, that you can be in a horrible mood and go in, and because you have to be on, it just kind of kicks you out of that bad mood. That's like a personal development thing that, you know, if you listen to like a life coach or something like that, they have techniques.
Do you believe in life coach?
Oh, absolutely.
I totally don't.
Why?
I think it's such a crack.
No, if you find the right one, if you the right people, like a Tony Robbins,
is he local?
He's always
coach?
Oh no,
I don't know.
No,
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. He's been around since the 80s.
Okay,
he's
right.
like one of the best of all time.
Okay.
I'd say for our generation.
I have to tell you this story. So, I used to coach swimming. I'm a swimmer, and I used to coach a club swim team. Mm. And there was this dad that was a life coach, and he would always like give me like unsolicited advice.
All right.
like, dude, I really don't care what you think. You know,
like your life sucks. I don't need your advice.
Yeah, well, yeah, like Johnny can barely swim, so
he's drowning right now. And you're giving me life coach advice.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. So I always like had a bad taste in my mouth about it. I'm sure there are good life coaches out there.
The goal, they're few and far between, I think, is what it is. But if you find the right one.
I was in I went to like this tiny little college when this was when I was coaching this team, and so it was like this small little town where, I mean, I don't. So maybe I think that I honestly, nobody validated this, but in my brain, I came up with the storyline that he was fired from his last job and just couldn't find anything else to do, so he became a life coach. I don't know if that's true.
Once you've been through the worst of the worst and fired from enough jobs and had a bad enough life, you can be a life coach.
Don't you kind of find that funny with like motivational speakers and stuff? It's always the people that have had the worst lives, and they put a positive spin on it, and they're usually good public speakers enough that they can make it sound like it was positive. But I'm like, why am I taking advice from you? Your life sucked.
Yeah, right. But that's how else do you turn it around besides having the worst life ever?
I guess, yeah.
In some cases that's true, some cases it's not. Yeah. But if you ever wanted to look for, and I don't like the word life coach. I think it's a lame term.
And it
gets a bad rap. Yeah. So like, just look up like Tony Robbins, what he's done throughout his career. I don't know if you know who Ty Lopez is. He's like an internet marketing kind of guy. He's all over YouTube and everything. But I've gone through a bunch of his programs, and it also is fantastic. But you've got to buy in, right? You've got to if you don't believe it, then you're like, well, this isn't going to work. This is stupid. This guy's an idiot. He's just lying to me.
But if people that want to get more comfortable on camera or more comfortable on a microphone, the only thing I can say is just to do it and do it over and over and over again. It's just like anything. If you practice at anything, you're gonna be better at it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's basketball. I don't care if it's being on a microphone. I don't care if it's being on camera.
Yeah.
I think you just have to do it because I mean, like I said, when I was 17 on radio, I can't believe that guys. I mean, we're still friends on Facebook. We still email back and forth. The guy that owned that radio station, I can't believe he let me be on the air. Like I was that bad. You know.
Yeah.
I can remember one time asking the superintendent of schools in that area a question, and him looking at me just like I was the dumbest human being alive, and I was. Like he gave me the look, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah,
that is me. I am the biggest idiot on the face of the earth."
So I mean,
I want to have you back in again, and we'll do it. We'll talk about that part of it because that's a super important part that I'm making kind of a life mission of mine, and something I'm trying to like push my direction in is like being able to help people get comfortable with that sort of stuff because the way our society's going, whether or not you want to be a personality, you almost have to now. Everybody's connected, especially kids.
Isn't that weird?
Like I talked to a group of 200, well, probably more than 200 kids over a period of a couple of hours at like a job fair, career fair kind of thing. And every group I had, which was like a group of like 10 at a time, I would ask them, so is anybody here not on social media? And none of them didn't have a cell phone, and none of them weren't on social media.
How old is your son?
He's 3. He'll be 4 in July. July 18th.
So, I mean, and I've seen that you post him on social media and stuff. Do you think, what's the age when he can do it himself?
When he can do it himself?
Yeah.
Or
that you're going to allow that to happen?
I think he already could do it himself if he wanted to. He's like really good at it.
But would you allow it?
Yeah, I'd have to be monitoring it. Obviously, I want to be a part of it.
I mean, I don't have kids, but I think that's the weird. My parents had one of their sons much longer after me, and so he's still he's going into a senior year of high school. My mom calls me sometimes, like asks me advice, and I'm like, it's just such a different world than when you were raising me.
I know.
I don't have any. I don't know what the advice is because it's just you said, like they're creating this. It's like you don't want to ground him from his phone because then he might get bullied for not.
They're so
not
connected.
Posting. I know it's just this whole. It's like it's such a part of their life. It's an extension of themselves.
Yeah, and all we hear about in schools and the major issues are like, well, parents and teachers don't know how to they don't know how to work this
There's
system
no book on
because
it.
it's the history of the human race has never had this. This is like such a new thing for a new generation. So I feel lucky that this is why I feel like it's kind of my mission is I feel lucky that I was born in 83. So like I didn't have internet until 96, but I didn't really have like good internet until like
dial-up.
2000, right? So I lived half my life without it and I've lived half my life with it. So I feel like I'm in a good spot to understand what it's like to not have it and understand what it's like to only have it. Right. And I think one of the biggest problems right now is the parents or teachers can't grasp the severity of like being bullied, but you can't just leave school and stop being bullied. I used to get bullied in school, and whenever I could go home, at least it stopped. Right? I didn't deal with it. Internally I did.
I was never bullied. It's one of those things. I really was never bullied.
Oh well, good for you.
I know. I'm not. I shouldn't say no. There was one time.
Yeah.
I was bullied, and I'll never forget it. His name was Dylan Fisk. He was this Dylan Fisk.
Dylan, where are you at right now, dude?
And but here's the funny thing. So he's this huge football player. I mean, without exaggeration, he's probably like 6'4".
You're pretty tall yourself. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Okay.
2 inches bigger than me. But he was a big guy. And I used to be, believe it or not, I used to be like the scrawny little swimmer, lengthy.
Oh, okay,
thing.
swim, yeah.
And so I used to do the morning and afternoon announcements in my high school.
Oh, okay.
And the morning announcements were on television.
Were you in broadcasting that whole deal? That's what I was in high school.
There wasn't. It wasn't offered. But I did the morning announcements we did like a closed circuit television, and then the afternoon were over a loudspeaker. And I mean, I again was really bad at that time, but I also was doing things that I thought were funny and good or whatever. And for the most part, I thought everyone liked it. And, I got voted, most likely to go into broadcasting and stuff like that. So anyway, I get done doing the afternoon announcements one day, and I walk into the hallway, and Dylan Fisk comes up to me, and he says, if you scream in that phone like you just did ever again, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, whatever. And so...
Seems a bit much.
It seemed a bit much. And my immediate reaction, and I don't thank God it worked in my favor, I just burst into laughter. And I start laughing like, you're going to beat me up? Are you kidding? Is this, Grease or something? You're like, well, who are you? You're going to beat me?
Grease?
Yeah, I'm thinking like, it was like a high school movie. And before I graduated, I mean, we were friends. I wouldn't say we weren't friends, but we were friendly. We would go to the same parties. He would sit next to, and that was the only time I can ever remember anything ever happening. And I don't know, bullying is so different now because that couldn't happen now. I think like if you're getting bullied now, it's usually online, and it's relentless, and there's no spot for you to respond. I mean, you can comment back, but my dad calls it texticles. People get these when you get behind the.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
You get balls whenever you start texting.
Yeah, because you don't have to look at the person in the face.
That's a great word, man. Texticles. I love that. You got real big texticles, but in person, complete wuss.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's true, right? There's people that online that are so mean.
Yeah,
but in person, you would never know it.
Never say one word about it. Right.
So I think with kids, that's the weird thing is with the bullying now is there's not the opportunity to actually move on and laugh with the like Dylan and I laughed at it, and he realized how ridiculous he sounded, and we were over it.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's.
I don't think
you also had the right approach, being able to laugh about it too. Because if it was me in high school and somebody said that, I'd be like, "No, I can't go to school tomorrow, Mom." I got a bellyache. Like it would be something like that. I'd be a total baby about it. So, and that was part of my reason to get into broadcasting.
What are your parents like? Was your mom like? What was your raising like?
What do you mean? I don't know. Well, so my parents got divorced whenever I was like 1 or 2, and then remarried. So they both got remarried, then had 2 kids each. So I lived with my mom most of the time, and then my dad every other weekend. I'd live there. My mom's side, I don't know. I mean, it was just
have you ever seen the show The Goldbergs on ABC?
Oh, I love The Goldbergs.
Okay, so my mom is like the mom on that show. I mean, everything. Well, I mean, she doesn't look like her or anything, but everything was, "You're the best. You're fantastic."
Okay, that's why you are the way you are. Yeah.
And so I think that's the reason I was able to laugh at that guy, because I was like, I don't know. I just thought, like, you're going to beat me up? Me, Alex Hazard? Like, I'm fantastic.
I have a professional wrestler or rock star name.
Yeah.
My name's Alex Hazard, for God's sake.
And so I think, I don't know, I just had this false
impression of yourself.
False impression
but in a good way.
Of confidence in myself. I mean, I was like, thought I was the coolest thing since sliced bread, and you know how cool sliced you know how cool sliced bread is.
When sliced bread first came out, were people like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life"? Did nobody ever slice bread before? Did they just eat loaves?
I
like
think
you weren't
they
slicing
ate it like an ear of corn.
But you had a loaf of bread. Yeah. Were they not slicing it though? I wonder if like they didn't get the concept. Like we have to eat this like a stromboli, this piece of bread. We can't slice it, and somebody cut it up, and they're like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life," and then it became the staple.
I don't.
That's very.
You think?
No, I'm making all that up.
Well, let's talk about it.
No, actually, we
gotta go. I'm sorry.
Up,
I could talk a clapper off a duck's rear end.
Say that again.
I said I could talk a clapper off a duck's rear end.
I could talk a clapper off a duck's rear end. What does that mean?
I have no idea.
A clapper. I don't know what that like. Like the thing that would turn the lights off.
I tell you what, let's end this and we'll look it up. That's an old saying.
All right, so Alex Hazard, I guess they could find it online if they don't live around here.
Yeah, centralpatv.com. We have it all on there. And
centralpatv.com is the website. WTAJ is the news network.
Yep, and every day at 4 if you're in the Central PA area.
Every single day at 4 o'clock. Thanks for being here, and let's have you come back in and we'll talk about like what it takes to get comfortable in those situations, because I kind of make that one of my goals. So let's do that again another time.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think we should have coffee sometime. Me and you swing down to the Clay Cup and grab a cup of Joe, or I might have some tea because I personally love tea. That's just how I live my life. But Sarah Vogel runs the Clay Cup, 1304 11th Avenue in Altoona. The Clay Cup on Facebook and Instagram. It's all about coffee. It's all about tea, but it's also about creativity. Have a sip of some creativity and let your mind go. Pottery, painting, watercolor classes, that all goes on at the Clay Cup in downtown Altoona. You gotta love it. You gotta love when somebody finds a way to bring two great ideas together, and that is exactly what Sarah Vogel does at the Clay Cup. Also a shout out to Harlequin Pepper Yoga. So if you're into, or you want to get into yoga, or you're already into yoga, Erin, who runs Harlequin Pepper Yoga, is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to yoga, and she's fantastic at what she does. Off the charts with what she does. So it's vinyasa yoga. It's rooted in science. All about having your body aligned correctly, and I'm still aligning this body. I know it's not aligned right. If you go into Harlequin Pepper Yoga at 320 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg, or if you find her in the App Store or on Google Play, use the code word ROBZ. You get 1 month free toward a 6-month or a year membership. And also a shout out to Sports Evolution, 2900 Plank Road in Altoona. So Sports Evolution is run by Alan Coble. That is where I take Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Alan is a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He's certified CrossFit levels 1 and 2. He teaches CrossFit, obviously. He's also a strength and conditioning specialist to make your body stronger, faster, harder, better, faster, stronger. And also certified personal trainer. He has a bachelor's in physical education and sports science. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the body, to the booty and the body. SportsEvolution.net. And Leading Athletes on Facebook and Instagram. That's 2900 Plank Road in Altoona for Sports Evolution. Thank you for listening, everybody. Alex is awesome. He's going to be on more because we had a lot of fun chatting. I had a lot of fun interacting with him. And shout out to you, Alex. I'm glad people like you exist, especially in central Pennsylvania, so I have a chance to talk to you and have some fun with you. Bye.
That's brutal.